So how does our exposure to early adversity affect us? Like, how deep does it run, right? Because you'll hear, I have friends who have actually gone through, childhood abuse, right? And then right now, like, they're adults, and if they see someone who reminds them of the person who abused them, they'll instantly hate them, even if they haven't done anything bad to them. So it's like, how early does, exposure to early adversity affect growing minds and bodies?
There's even a direct correlation between, the trauma you might have experienced in childhood and illnesses you might be prone to later on as an adult, just because in terms of the stress factors, also it's going to affect the capacity of your own body to fight back. There's some studies that are around about that. So there's a direct correlation in terms of also in terms of, for example, even in terms of asthma in children. The fact that children who live in a household where there's a lot of stress, or the parents are there's a lot of stress among the parents, for example, children are going to be more likely to develop those kind of asthma, for example, just because it's a reduction of your stress level, immune system. Related to the chronic stress that a child goes through. And this is true also as an adult. If you go through an event that is continuously stressful for you, it's going to affect your body's capacity to withstand some challenges. So these direct correlation are, well shown by studies as well. But in terms of what you were just saying about triggers, right? Let's say something happens to a child and it hasn't been addressed. And usually, in terms of trauma, it's not the event itself. It's somehow the response to the event. And usually when you were a child, maybe the fact that you were left alone with that response. So there's no one who helped you make sense of it, or even provided some kind of support, or, so that you could weed out, maybe the sense of guilt or shame, or that might have been associated to it, or the sense of unsafety. So something happens to you. It's not the event itself, but how you interpret the event and how maybe you felt you were alone with that event and dealing with it. And the trauma response, in a way, if the person is afraid of something that happened, similar to something that happened to it, if you think about it, it's a normal way it's like to ring the alarm. The body or the brain is ringing the alarm saying, pay attention. There's something, this is something that was very similar to something that happened to you before. Pay attention. It might be dangerous to you now. So in a way, it's not flawed. Actually, it's the right response if you think about it, so that it keeps you safe, right? But when you realize that actually it has nothing to do with, to the safety in a broader sense, and you realize, brings me back to something else, then it would be useful to go and try to find out ways to weed out and to understand where that response comes from. Because there's a reason. And the reason is not that you're crazy. It's a normal reason, because there's an alarm that was put into your brain and your body about something that happened to you that you felt was dangerous to you at the time.
So you spoke about the power of the mind, right? And how sometimes that, childhood experiences will make us less immune to fight diseases simply because of what you have gone through and maybe the way they're addressed. And also, most of the times when you're a kid, for example, if you're sexually harassed, right? And then you tell your parents, most of the time they don't believe you, right? They think you're just making it up. And I think that's where the whole point of, it's how you deal with it that affects you more than actually what happened. So the response to it.